Welcome back to the Why Mindset Matters podcast. I'm Eslana Loa. I'm an author, speaker, resilience mindset coach. I'm also a nurse and a midwife and a mother of 4. If this is somehow the first episode of mine that you have found, I want to provide a trigger warning. I do discuss the loss of my teenage daughter Riley to suicide because of bullying. So I just wanted to mention that at the beginning. I want to talk in this episode about becoming the one. And how we spend our life looking for the one who's going to love us unconditionally, our soulmate, and meet all of our needs. I'm witnessing a lot of people close to me and even people that I'm just getting to know who are really going through it, like going through breakups, going through struggles with regards to relationship dissolutions or just trouble finding themselves and being really disheartened by either being single longer than they want to, or again, finding themselves on the other side or in the midst of the breakup of a relationship they really thought would last either the lifespan or at least significantly longer than it has. And there's definitely a struggle and a heartache that is relative for me because I've been through a divorce and I truly believed that Kai was my soulmate, and we made the conscious decision to amicably divorce and said that we would stay friends and be best friends. And I think it's possible on the other side of it, but I think it's not uncommon for it to be quite a painful process. And I was really struggling with my divorce. I felt like I'd given my soul to this person and I just couldn't get it back, and I was heartbroken, and I was reading every book I could get my hands on. You know, all my friends that were going through a separation at the time threw themselves on a bag of dicks. I wasn't doing that. I was doing the work. The one regret that I said that I had my whole life was that I didn't leave my son's father sooner, my first relationship, and do the work to really unpack my baggage from my childhood and then that relationship so that I had something healthy to offer a relationship. And I regretted that, not having that downtime and alone time to do the work. And so I did see my divorce and our separation in the lead up to the divorce being final as an opportunity for that. You know, it's no point saying that you regret not having the opportunity, but then not seizing the opportunity once it arises. And so I was quite consciously invested in that, and therefore read every book I could get my hands on, listened to audiobooks, and I was just struggling. One of the best books in that time that I found, and it is available on Audible now. It wasn't, so I had to read it, but you can listen now. It was called Becoming the One. And it is about how we spend our life searching for the one that is going to love me unconditionally and meet all of my needs for unconditional love, but just meet all of my needs, you know. And it's about how unreasonable an expectation that is, and I'm here to validate for you that it's an impossible ask. There is nobody outside of you that can actually love you unconditionally. We don't love unconditionally. We have conditions. I don't have a mum in my life, but if you had sex with my mum, I'm going to find a way to stop loving you. And I think we can all relate to that. They're not conditions, they're boundaries. You know, we should have boundaries. We're supposed to. That says if you cross this boundary, my love doesn't come freely anymore, because that's just toxic. And if we do find ourselves in a situation where we love without conditions, we actually are living in a way that says, no matter what you do to me, no matter any trespasses on what should be my boundaries or what I say my boundaries are, no matter what abuses occur, no matter how you behave, I will continue loving you regardless. There's nobody healthy out there that's looking for someone to love them that way, because you should have your own set of healthy boundaries. You have the right to a set of beliefs and expectations around how you want a relationship to occur and unfold, and what your involvement in that is. So therefore, we can start to see that there's no such thing as unconditional love, and the expectation of that is unreasonable. Because the other thing is, our state of being as humans, men and women, is ever changing. How do you constantly offer yourself the degree of unconditional love? We don't. And yet we expect it from someone outside of ourselves, and we're not in a position to give anything to someone else that we're not giving to ourselves. So you see how unreasonable an expectation that really starts to become when you're expecting from someone else what you're not even giving to yourself, or that they're not giving to themselves. So they don't have it to begin with to give to me. So when we realize that this is a futile effort, this effort or this mission to find the one who's going to love me unconditionally in spite of all my flaws or whatever, you get it. The book talks about, though, instead of putting all that effort into trying to find the one, that we become the one, that we do the work to unpack our baggage, to work on ourselves and become the one, so that our need for unconditional love is always met. And what happens in doing that is then I'm better positioned to not only attract something healthy, but to then, when I find it, have a healthy version of a relationship with that person. Because I'm also not putting them in a pressured situation of having to love me all the fucking time in this unconditional way. I would much prefer healthy love. And so I read this book. It was an incredible read, and I do attribute a lot of what I'm now enjoying to reading that. I'm talking early to mid 2022. I read this book. So it was like planting seeds into the soil. The seeds needed to grow. And so I read the book, and I 100% benefited from what I read at the time. But it's interesting how we reap what we sow, but we don't reap and sow in the same season. I might be reaping, but I'm reaping from seeds I sowed previously, not from what I've just put in the ground. So the way I would describe how I'm feeling now down the track where I'm experiencing this degree of self-love, I didn't know was possible. And it's interesting because we talk about it rationally, we understand the need for self-love logically, but until you do the work to actually become the one, until you really let it sink in that this thing I'm seeking isn't outside of myself. Not only is it unreasonable to think that it's outside of me, but also stop all the external effort of striving and seeking and trying. And if I put a fraction of that effort, let alone all of it, into myself, and into truly just dating the fuck out of myself, which was what ended up becoming my mission. I was like, I'm dating me. Because if you think about it, when we meet someone and we're in that honeymoon infatuation period, there's nothing we wouldn't do. We're going to spoil them. We want to bring our A game. We're like on our best behavior, but really bringing our A game. Then something will come up, and where I might have easily spent money or seen it as affordable to do something over here when infatuated with someone, but then something that I want comes up. I'm like, oh, I can't afford that. Hang on a minute. I'm going to date myself. I'm going to start with me. And I'm not just talking about financial aspects or spoiling myself, but it's all of the ways that you would go above and beyond, all the ways that you would bring your A game and that you would put your best foot forward for somebody else. Fuck all that. Start with you, rip it right back to basics and start really putting your best foot forward. And I really enjoyed dating myself and spoiling myself. And if I needed to put it in perspective, I did. I thought in the context of, if this was someone I just met and I thought they were the best thing in the whole world, how would I behave? And then I gave that to myself. I gave that version of me to myself. And in doing so, I really did. I learned to love myself on this level that I didn't know was possible. And now the way I would describe how I exist in the home that is my body is not just kinda. Romantically, I could die happy. With this love that I'm experiencing to and from myself is next level. I'm so fucking proud of myself. I know I have reasons to be proud of myself because, let's face it, my life has been filled with ridiculous challenges and then unimaginable loss. Of course, on paper or from the outside, there's every reason to love myself, appreciate myself, or be, proud of and happy with. But that doesn't mean that we're capable of it. And just because other people see us that way doesn't mean that we have the capacity to view ourselves through the lens through which others do see us, and in doing so, love ourselves with as much ease as those around us would. And a lot of the time we spend our self-talk in this derogatory, negative self-talk. Sometimes we're not even aware we're doing. And so who needs an enemy when we've got that inside of us? And so the deep dive into becoming the one and this self-love and exploration really does shine a light on the areas that is happening so that you can address it, because you wouldn't speak to that crush or that new love in the way that we speak to ourselves. You wouldn't put them down the way that we put ourselves down so easily. And I really didn't think that I had a negative self-talk, but my God, did I. Like, what has held me back from doing a lot of the stuff I'm now doing in my life has not been the inability to do it. It's been the negative self-talk that says, who would want to listen to you? You feel uncomfortable in front of a camera. You're awkward. You're this, that, or the other. I don't want to get into the details of the negative self-talk, but it fed an imposter syndrome that said, who are you to do all of this stuff? And that held me back. And it's interesting because I'm coming in contact with every single day people who are their own worst enemy. And they have this negative self-talk that talks them, they put the effort into doing things because they have the passion, and they even have the knowledge and resources to be the thing they feel like they're supposed to show up as. But then the negative self-talk and the devil on their shoulder talks them out of it, because the imposter syndrome within them convinces them that, who the fuck are you to do that? Sit down, shut up, be quiet, And I think that, but besides becoming the one and, doing the work for the sake of yourself, so that you not only get to experience this degree of peace because you stop striving, you stop being like, who's the person? Where am I going to find them? Am I ever going to meet someone? I want to get married. I want to have children. I want to do this. Whatever it is that you feel like is missing in your life, if you focus that energy inward on becoming the one, you reach this place of peace. My nervous system has never been such a peaceful place for my soul to reside. Like, it's been a lot of trauma in my life, so a pretty fucked nervous system has been justified, don't get me wrong, but the environmental factors of my life aren't different. I am. And I navigate quite challenging situations now. And the thing that I'm aware of as I do is how calm my nervous system is, how I can do it with a heart rate that doesn't have to be twice as fast. I don't have to put myself into fight or flight in order to try and assert my boundaries or navigate any part of my life. And that was my whole life. I've never existed internally in such a peaceful state of being, and I'm loving it. And I know that comes from the work that I've done to take my energy and focus from those outside of me and put it inside, because I don't want to spend this one red hot crack that I have at life chasing an idea of what love is going to feel like from outside of me. Because let's be real, we can't control, dictate, or make conform somebody outside of us. And even if you were trying to do that or you thought you did that, that's not peace. And therefore, it's also not love. It's not real love. And the fact is that people can leave. They can cheat, they can fuck up, they can make mistakes, they can die, they can get sick. All of these things outside of our control can negatively impact our experience of life. So if we perceive ourselves only to be well and okay if I'm receiving unconditional love from this person, what happens if they leave? Even if it's via an accident, it's no malicious intent on their part. Of course, I'm not talking about navigating loss of a loved one free from the horrific compounding effects of grief and sadness, but there's a big difference in being able to come to a relationship free from attachment, from a place of peaceful, secure attachment to myself, so I'm positioned in a way that allows me to really enjoy this experience and for as long as it lasts, in the hope that it lasts across the lifespan, but also okay that I'm not desperately clinging white knuckle to the wheel of my life, trying to let my ego dictate how this is supposed to unfold. Frees you up to be very much more in the present and really love your life and not miss out on everything that's happening around your life and for you as you do. Because I think we get so stuck, whether it's a goal, a future-oriented goal, or whether it's how we want our life to look and feel or who we think that will be with, we put so much focus on the future, which isn't here yet, and we're missing the present. And the present has so much to offer. There's so many connections that can be made every day that enrich your life in the way you think a partner is going to, or someone outside of you. And It's crazy how much of our life we miss out on because we get stuck striving for how we think it should be instead of realizing how it is. And if it's not how I want it to be, doing the things and having the courage to make the changes that allow the now to be exactly how I want it to be. And if I think that finding somebody to love me unconditionally was going to bring me peace, it was going to give me contentment and joy, then actually what I'm seeking is not a person or even the unconditional love of someone else. I'm seeking peace and joy and contentment. Therefore, I can reverse engineer that what it is I think that's going to facilitate, take back the power and facilitate that for myself right now and in every day. And not only do I do that, so then I can love my life every day, I can be better positioned to attract somebody who's doing the same work. And that's the thing I know I've mentioned in another episode. I don't want to be your peace, because if I'm your peace, you're the storm. And I don't want you to be my peace, because if you have to be the peace, I'm the storm. And what I want is to have achieved my own degree of peace, my own awareness that I'm capable of navigating the inevitable storms of life, no matter what they look like. And I know that because I've been to hell and back, and there's nothing I haven't survived. So even though I'm not tempting the universe, I don't want any more challenges and trials and tribulations. I'm also only 43. So I'm like less than halfway through my life, maybe. And so there's going to be more challenges. There's going to be a hell of a lot more loss and grief because I'm only young, and there's a lot of people in my life that I care about that are actually older than me. So of course I'm going to have more challenges in my life, some foreseen, some unforeseen. But the reality is I want to do the work that I perceive to be lifelong. It never ends. I want to be doing my work. I want to be achieving and responsible for my own peace and positioned in a way that attracts somebody who's doing the same. They're doing the work. They are their own peace, because that's two people that are more capable of taking each other's hand in life and then moving forward in a way that facilitates navigating the inevitable storms of life, because they'll come. I just don't want to be your storm, and I don't want you to be my storm, because life is going to bring storms. So let's take each other's hand and head into a future that sees us know that we're capable of navigating the inevitable storms of life in a way that's kinder and softer, because we have done the work and we have each other and we've taken each other's hand. Not because you have to make my life okay or better or love me unconditionally in spite of all the challenges that my personality presents or that my moods or my hormones present, and vice versa. And so it has truly been one of the most incredibly rewarding books I could have read. Yes, there's been obviously a combination of a lot of books, because I did everything I could get my hands on. And I didn't read just to read. I read to learn and to change and to internalize the learnings and to figure out and acknowledge that I don't know what I don't know. But what a beautiful place to start, and what a beautiful place to stay, pretty much, because as long as I keep navigating life in the awareness and the emotional intelligence that says I don't know what I don't know, but let's go find out some more shit and put it to use, because I want to make the most out of this life. I want to live the fuck out of every day that is left in my life. And I love everyone who's in it. And I have so much gratitude for everyone who's in my life and everyone who's going to be, because I had the courage to say yes to grief, to say yes to life, to really start fucking living. And everything that you desire that is not currently in your life is on the other side of a door you're yet to walk through. So start saying yes to life. If you think, but I want to meet someone. Okay, well, for starters, become the person that you would like to date. Because we also, the other trap we fall into is, I want this, this, and this. Are you being that? Be that, and then be it to yourself. Date the fuck out of yourself. Spoil yourself. Love yourself with so effortlessly as you would somebody you were falling in love with. Because as you keep practicing these things, you can't help but fall in love with yourself. And the other thing that I would say is be authentically you. Like, I was talking to my girls when they were younger and explaining that I believe the greatest gift that you can give yourself, especially from a young age, I was explaining to them, is the ability to work out who you are and then be that person. in every room you walk into. And they were like, what do you mean? And I said, you know how I'm a lot? And they were like, oh, yeah, and kind of giggled like, you are a lot. I said, well, I'm a lot in every room I walk into. I don't change who I am because of who I'm around. And then I rattled off a heap of contrasting examples of people that are very different to be around. And I said, I'm the same version of me around all of them. I don't change. And when you have a big heart and no malicious intent and you're not out to cause harm to anybody and you're choosing kindness, then fuck the noise. Just be yourself. Because I explained to them that it's one of the biggest challenges people have across the lifespan. And as somebody who was always a lot and often for the majority of my life felt like I was too much. In every room I walked into, I was almost felt this oppressive, like, need to apologize for who I was because I was always a lot. I didn't know how to be less. I am the most authentic version of myself that I can't be anything but that. But fortunately for me, we've morphed into a world that is so much more accepting and so much less oppressive with regards to needing to control or silence or, you know, those big voices or that big energy or dim your light kind of thing. And so now I'm 2025 stepping into the power unapologetically of who I am in such a peaceful manner for one of the first times in my life, because I no longer feel like a square peg in a round hole. But here I am trying to teach my teenage girls that if you can nail this, especially as a teenager, if you can work out who you are, what you like, what you don't like, you know, and these things can change, but if you can take ownership over those aspects of you and be authentically you and the same version of you in every room you walk into, it's not about getting people in every room to like you. Like I said, if you've got a good heart, no malicious intent, and you're not actually causing people harm, then fuck the people that put their hand up and say you're not for them. 100% I'm not for you. I'm not trying to be for you, and I'm not going to be a dick about it. I'm just going to let that tell me the rooms I don't need to stay in. Because let's be real, when you are authentic and consistent and show up as you, you'll find your people. The people that are meant for you are going to be high-fiving you. They are going to see you as a breath of fresh air, and they are going to want to be around you. And so I would encourage you, date yourself. And if you go, I don't even know who the fuck I am, then work that out and then fall in love with that person and practice and, you know, fake it till you make it with walking confidently into every room as that version of yourself that you would be if you knew that it didn't matter. Because nobody's getting hurt. And anybody who gets butt hurt wants to act like a bit of an asshole, let them. Because that is a reflection of where they sit. And more often than not, how I would describe that, especially to my daughters, is the discomfort in them is because of the light and the authenticity they see in you and the often envy that arises. And how can you just get to be here and be you and be unapologetically you? I want what you have. It's almost a envy or jealousy thing of like, I want that and I don't have it, so I'm going to tear you down. And so helping them understand that when people are negative or there's bullies, it's nothing, it's less to do with you and more to do with how they feel in their own skin. And it's going to be a lot and it's going to be confronting for some people to interact with you. But that's more so because you're in the small pond of high school. Once you get out into the world and you realize and you get practice at walking into rooms as you'll find some rooms you don't want to leave, and you have found your tribe and you know that you belong. And then there's other rooms that you'll see as, okay, this is a temporary one for me. I'm out. Thank you. I'm going to exit stage left because this doesn't serve me. And your nervous system will let you know, because when you are consistently you and then you've put yourself or find yourself in environments that don't serve you, your body will let you know. Your instinct will let you know. But I wanted to share the experience that I had with regards to the severe discomfort I had with finding myself going through a separation and a divorce and the loss of identity that I had let become something that was so enmeshed and codependent with someone else that without that person I didn't know who I was. And so, yes, there's an element of me that is who I am is authentically me, and I show up as that same version of myself. But I had made the mistake of letting my identity become like being his wife, and it was a hat that I wore, sure, that it turns out that I needed to take off. But what happens when you leave a relationship that you've let define or grossly impact such a big part of your sense of identity that you feel lost and you don't know who you are? So I wanted to, as I said, share my experience of becoming the one, share that book with you guys in case you're interested in reading it, or maybe you're finding yourself in a life situation at the moment that's particularly challenging, or you're just super lonely and you're craving companionship and connection, and it's kind of sitting as an unrest because it's like, I don't want to end up with somebody just because I let myself get lonely. There's a difference with being alone and then ending up feeling lonely. And I know that when I was going through these experiences, I was like, the last thing I want to end up is with the wrong person. Thinking back to the good old days when I was single, I wish I knew how good I had it. And so now to fast forward to being so content in my life and with everything going on and loving all of the people in my life, it's such a beautiful place to be, where I don't feel like anything is missing because that need for love is met. And then you're better positioned, as I've mentioned, to attract something healthy and reap the rewards. But yes, that's the seeds that I sowed a few years ago now by reading the book, have blossomed into this experience of self-love I didn't know was possible. So I would encourage everyone, men and women, to get their hands on the book called Becoming the One. It is available in a paperback and Audible. I don't get anything for promoting this other than the joy of knowing that I shared my experience and hopefully it benefits somebody. So thank you again for listening to this episode of Why Mindset Matters about becoming the one. I'm Lana Lower. You can follow me on Instagram at Resilience Mindset Coach. I very much look forward to sharing all of the future episodes with you. I will see you guys again soon.